Welcome to the Daily Globe. Please subscribe and hit the bell icon for more breaking updates. The United States and China have just signed a landmark trade agreement, ending years of economic conflict that have defined the relationship between the world's two largest economies. After months of tense negotiations, both sides have finally come to the table, signaling a willingness to move past the bitter disputes that have cost billions and rattled global supply chains. This moment marks a dramatic turning point, not just for Washington and Beijing, but for the entire international community. The announcement sent shockwaves through global markets, with investors reacting in real time to the news. Stock indices surged and dipped, as traders scrambled to assess the long-term impact of this historic accord. For many, the deal represents a rare moment of optimism in an era marked by uncertainty and economic rivalry. The U.S.-China Economic Partnership Accord, brokered by President Kamala Harris's administration, promises to dismantle tariff walls and reset the world's most critical bilateral relationship. The agreement aims to restore trust, open new avenues for cooperation, and create a framework for resolving future disputes peacefully. For businesses and consumers, this could mean relief from tariffs and uncertainty that have driven up prices and disrupted everyday life. American farmers, Chinese manufacturers, and global retailers alike are hoping for a return to stability, lower costs, and renewed opportunities for growth. The ripple effects could be felt in everything from grocery store shelves to high-tech manufacturing plants. Yet, the world is divided on whether this is a genuine breakthrough or a risky compromise. Supporters hail it as a bold step toward global cooperation, while critics warn that unresolved issues could spark new tensions down the road. The debate is fierce, with passionate voices on both sides questioning the true cost and benefit of this agreement. President Harris champions engagement and multilateralism, arguing that only through dialogue and partnership can the world's biggest challenges be addressed. She has called the accord a blueprint for future diplomacy, emphasizing the need for unity in a fractured world. Meanwhile, former President Trump calls the deal a betrayal, ensuring fierce domestic debate. He claims the agreement concedes too much to Beijing and undermines American workers, fueling a political firestorm that is likely to shape the next election cycle. As the ink dries, the stakes are enormous. The success or failure of this accord will shape the 21st century, the world's economic future, the balance of power, and the prospects for peace and prosperity all hang in the balance. The world is watching as this new chapter begins, uncertain whether it marks the dawn of a new era of cooperation, or the start of a dangerous detour with consequences yet to unfold. To understand the significance of the new accord, we must first revisit the long and often turbulent history of U.S.-China trade relations. For decades, the economic relationship between these two global giants has been marked by cycles of cooperation, competition, and conflict, shaping not only their own destinies but also the broader world economy. China's rapid rise as a manufacturing powerhouse in the late 20th and early 21st centuries brought affordable goods to American consumers, transforming shopping habits and lowering prices. However, this economic shift came at a steep cost for many U.S. workers, as factories closed and entire communities struggled to adapt to the new global reality. The resulting job losses and economic dislocation fueled deep resentment and political backlash across the United States. Tensions reached a boiling point under President Trump, who launched a full-scale trade war in 2018. The U.S. imposed sweeping tariffs on hundreds of billions of dollars worth of Chinese goods, prompting swift retaliation from Beijing. The resulting tit-for-tat measures sent shockwaves through global markets, disrupted supply chains, and left businesses and consumers on both sides facing uncertainty and higher costs. In 2020, the so-called Phase 1 deal was signed, pausing further escalation and offering a temporary truce. Yet beneath the surface, core issues like intellectual property theft, forced technology transfers, and market access remained unresolved. The agreement provided only a fragile peace, with both sides wary and tensions simmering just below the surface. When President Harris took office, she inherited this fraught and uncertain landscape. After months of careful review and internal debate, her administration quietly began to explore new avenues for dialogue with Beijing, seeking a more stable and constructive path forward. Behind closed doors, secret negotiations were launched, led by U.S. Trade Representative Carney. Her team worked tirelessly, poring over confidential documents and meeting with Chinese counterparts, in a bid to craft a framework that could deliver real, enforceable progress and restore trust between the two nations. These months of painstaking diplomacy unfolded against a backdrop of deep mutual suspicion and skepticism. Yet, through persistence and quiet determination, both sides managed to bridge key divides, culminating in a surprise announcement in Beijing that caught the world's attention. With the world watching, the stage was set for a dramatic reset in US-China trade relations, one that could reshape the global economic order for years to come. The signing ceremony in Beijing's Great Hall of the People was a carefully orchestrated display of renewed diplomacy. U.S. Trade Representative Sarah Carney and Chinese Vice Premier Liu He, after months of secret talks, signed the accord, signaling a new era. The Harris administration presented the deal as a finished product, aiming to control the narrative and preempt opposition. Carney emphasized robust enforcement and verifiable actions, not blind trust. President Harris addressed the nation, framing the deal as a win for American workers and businesses. The White House released detailed provisions, promising lower costs and new market access. The administration's coordinated rollout showed it was ready for the political storm ahead. The heart of the accord is a phased rollback of $350 billion in U.S. tariffs on Chinese goods, contingent on China meeting specific benchmarks. This step-by-step approach gives the U.S. leverage and predictability for businesses. China commits to purchasing $60 billion in U.S. agricultural products annually, a major win for American farmers. The deal also includes increased Chinese purchases of U.S. energy and manufactured goods. A new Joint Commission on Technology and Intellectual Property aims to streamline dispute resolution and prevent future trade wars. The agreement further opens China's financial markets to U.S. firms, building on previous commitments. These provisions are complex and will require vigilant enforcement. The accord's success hinges on both sides honoring their promises. Reaction to the accord is sharply divided. President Harris calls it a landmark achievement, promising lower prices and new opportunities for Americans. Her administration touts economic benefits, while former President Trump denounces the deal as a disaster and a sellout. Trump vows to tear up the agreement if he returns to office, framing it as a return to failed globalist policies. Chinese state media hails the deal as a win-win and a sign of responsible diplomacy. U.S. public opinion is split along partisan lines, with a slim majority supporting the deal. The Harris administration faces the challenge of selling the accord to a deeply divided nation. Financial markets rallied dramatically on news of the historic deal, with stocks surging to record highs and global optimism rising across major economies. Investors, who had been bracing for prolonged uncertainty, suddenly found themselves in a climate of renewed confidence. The sharp upward spike in the markets reflected not just relief, but a sense of hope that a new era of cooperation might be dawning. Economists around the world are now predicting a modest but meaningful boost to global growth if the accord holds. Many believe that the agreement could help stabilize volatile markets, encourage investment, and even spur job creation in sectors hit hardest by previous trade tensions. However, some caution that the benefits may take time to materialize, and much depends on how both sides implement the terms. Politically, the deal is a major win for President Harris, who faced mounting pressure to resolve the standoff. The administration is touting the agreement as a triumph of diplomacy and a testament to American leadership on the world stage. But for Republicans, the deal has become a new battleground. Critics on the right frame it as a sign of weakness, arguing that the U.S. gave up too much in pursuit of peace. Conservative commentators and political opponents are already mobilizing their base, warning of potential long-term consequences. For China, the agreement brings much-needed relief, easing economic pressures that had been building for months. The Chinese government is eager to restore stability and reassure both domestic and international investors. With the deal in place, Beijing can now shift its focus to pressing domestic priorities, such as boosting consumer spending, supporting local industries, and addressing social challenges at home. Still, not everyone in China is satisfied. Some nationalists and hardliners see the concessions made as risky, fearing that the country's long-term interests could be compromised. Debates rage in the media and on the streets about whether the government gave up too much. The deal's impact extends far beyond the US and China. Around the world, governments and businesses are recalibrating their strategies as new trade routes open and global supply chains begin to shift. Export-driven economies, especially in Europe and Asia, stand to benefit from the renewed stability. Manufacturers and exporters are hopeful that smoother trade flows will boost their bottom lines and support economic recovery. Yet not every country will come out ahead. Some nations, particularly those that had gained from the previous disruptions, may lose out as supply chains shift back toward China. Workers and businesses in these regions now face new uncertainties and tough adjustments. The Accord is forcing a global realignment of economic strategies as leaders and policymakers gather to reassess their positions and forge new alliances in a rapidly changing landscape. Implementation will be a delicate balancing act for both Washington and Beijing, requiring constant negotiation, trust building, and careful management of domestic expectations. The world's economic future now hinges on this fragile peace, as nations everywhere watch closely to see if cooperation can truly triumph over conflict. American businesses welcome the deal, seeing relief from tariffs and supply chain disruptions. Industry groups praise the agreement as a step toward normalizing trade, while farmers celebrate renewed access to the Chinese market. The promise of $60 billion in agricultural sales offers hope to rural communities. However, labor unions and some manufacturers fear job losses and unfair competition, warning that enforcement must be strong. The Harris administration must balance the interests of exporters and vulnerable industries. The deal's long-term success depends on robust protections and broad economic benefits. The stakes are high for every sector of the American economy. Experts see the Accord as a pragmatic reset, moving from confrontation to structured competition. Dr. Linda Chen of Georgetown calls it the most significant shift since 2019, praising its dispute resolution framework. Yet, skepticism remains. Enforcement and compliance are critical and China's track record is mixed. The Joint Technology Framework is controversial. Some fear it risks U.S. security. Others say decoupling is unrealistic. The deal is a tightrope walk, especially on tech and data security. Most analysts agree. The rivalry isn't over, but the rules have changed. The Accord is a step away from costly conflict, not a final solution. The world watches to see if this new approach can hold. The U.S.-China Economic Partnership Accord marks a pivotal moment, offering hope for stability but no guarantees. Its success depends on vigilant enforcement and political will on both sides. The fierce debate in America reflects deeper questions about the nation's global role. Confrontation or cooperation? The Harris administration must prove the deal's worth to a skeptical public and ensure American interests are protected. Implementation will be long and challenging, with every step scrutinized worldwide. Citizens must stay informed and engaged. The outcome will shape the global economy for years. The story of U.S.-China relations is far from over. Stay tuned.